This, my friends, is the second gen TCL NxtPaper 11 tablet, and TLDR, it's not going to break any speed records, I'll tell you first off, or excite you with the latest specs, but it is arguably the cheapest way to get NxtPaper display tech. What you see right here, which is LCD that behaves like e-ink without some of the bigger drawbacks of e-ink. Let's discuss. You know, as long as they're not obnoxiously wide, I've always believed that bezels on a tablet help a great deal with handling. Regardless of whether you're holding it like landscape or portrait style, your grubby little fingers have somewhere to grip, like out of the way of the screen. Now, in terms of the design and the dimensions and also the build, this thing is really nice. The TCL is just the right thickness for its class, I think, which along with the bezels and the pretty even weight distribution all around, they help with long-term comfort and perhaps those with hand finger issues. Now, I will say the company says that the front is for the most part fingerprint, resistant. You can see a little bit there. It has its limits, so something to bear in mind there. But the back is a fingerprint / grease magnet. I'll tell you what, during this filming alone, I've had to clean this multiple times. So yeah, but since you're going to be slapping on the included case, I would guess it will be a non-issue anyway, right? In the Tab 10 review that I did last year, a lot of comments were centered around the NxtPaper display tech because some believed that it was, merely a hydro matte layer, kind of like a specialized screen protector slapped onto the display top layer, giving it its distinctive paper, look and feel. It's kind of sort of true, but I want to add that it's actually more comprehensive than that, as the NxtPaper 4.0 package that this has involves other things like backlighting and software side management, as well as DC or direct current dimming. Now, the latter is what greatly reduces things like flicker and eye fatigue, which the more commonly used PWM dimming on other devices causes. Now, I would dare say that e-ink, if you're used to that, ultimately has more punch when it comes to text sharpness. Let me pull up a comic book right here and you can kind of sort of see what I'm saying. It's not as focused, not as pin sharp as e-ink, but it is still very, very legible. And yes, traditional LCDs or OLEDs have better color saturation, but I would say that NxtPaper rides that middle ground. The viewing experience, in this case, reminds me of printed magazines, but practically no glare with that slightly desaturated color profile. And obviously also videos and games. Let me pull up Doug DeMuro again right here. And you can see it do this in full screen. You can see that it has this slightly faded look, but middle ground, right? And I guess faded is really not the word I'm looking for. It's more like ethereal. It has this interesting color profile to it. And also, it's not the brightest thing outdoors, let alone under direct sunlight. So for me, this pretty much relegates the tablet strictly as an indoor media consumption device. Aside from the display tech, each unit comes with a stylus that boasts almost 4100 sensitivity levels. It's a very good pen for what it is, although there is a hollow sound whenever I tap the tip on the display. It honestly cheapens the feel somewhat. And also the light sensor, I'm grateful that it exists because not every tablet has this at this price point, but it's in the wrong spot. I think holding this upright, my thumb effectively blocks the sensor every single time. The pedestrian paced MediaTek Helio G80 processor is suitably fit for pedestrian users, so it's not meant for gaming or multitasking for the most part, unless you keep your demands light. Now, general day-to-day use, it's totally fine, but even then, there are times when, let me show you this. I hope it shows up on screen. There is some sluggishness to the UI and the swipe gestures, so there's that. Now, synthetic, let's go back to Geekbench 6 right here. The synthetic benchmark score, they kind of cement the idea that you can see how the SoC sits decidedly way back in the pack and time as well. Just imagine 2017 Snapdragon 710 835 level, and this is where it lies. But at least this thing is a power sipper with that 8000 milliamp hour battery, good for 7.1 hours. When I ran a YouTube drain test, running a 1080p video nonstop with volume and display brightness at 50%, that's pretty darn good. Now, as far as I can tell, there are two speakers that get very loud if you dare, like this. It doesn't really sound like Doug DeMuro anymore, does it? But it does get pretty darn loud. Now, something to note is that they're located on the upper left and right quarters when in landscape orientation, which means they have pretty good stereo presentation. However, when held in portrait or vertical style, the speaker location, the audio causes, it's kind of like it's off balance to the right, you know what I mean? Okay, if you absolutely have to, but please don't, there are cameras that take passable 8 megapixel photos and 1080p 30 fps videos, but again, please don't be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Shame, shame, shame.
This is not for tablet snobs, but for roughly the same price as an Amazon Fire HD10, the NxtPaper 11 is what you buy as a tablet specifically for ebooks and comics, or something for your light-sensitive grandmother or relative to watch Korean TV shows with. Now, if you want a NxtPaper with a little bit more horsepower and a thinner build, you might want to check out the NxtPaper 11 Plus, and the video for that is coming up next.